Good? Okay. Bonjour. Thanks for having me here today. Last day of ETHCC. Appreciate you guys coming and bearing with the heat. I'm excited to speak here today about a topic that I'm pretty passionate about. And it's about my point of view on designing for the future of crypto adoption and diversity. Also, I think I should address the elephant in the room first, because on the website it said the title was still TBD, and I just want you to know that's because I'm planning on launching the Procrastination Network and launching my own token TBD. So for all of us procrastinators, I hope you'll join me till the end. So a little bit of context about me. Like I said, I'm Michael Glusman. And I'm visiting Paris from a town on the east coast of the United States called Atlanta, Georgia, where I used to work for a company, a small startup you may have heard of called the Coca-Cola Company. And I worked on a handful of brands on the North American business unit, where I led design for brands, some of which had bubbles and some of which did not. That's kind of my tenure there. But while I was there, I worked on a lot of amazing projects, and I learned a great deal about connecting with consumers through great design. Today, I'm Chief Design Officer at Thesis. Thesis is a product studio where we build and launch products that empower people to live life with more choice. We forward individuals in that sense. This is the portfolio of products that we work on. I don't know, maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. Keep, Fold, TBTC, Saddle, and we've recently launched a wallet called Tallyho. Now, I'm sure it's barely worth mentioning that the current state of the market is, has some of us nervous. And in this industry, and our company in particular as well, we've had to face the reality and adapt a bit. And the point of view that we share at Thesis is the notion that in rough times, it's useful to reflect and go back to basics. And double down on the strategies and values that we know make meaningful impact in order to thrive through the crypto winter. You know, like the bare necessities. So one of our core necessary basics will be to continue to making user experience core to our products. So in our industry, as I'm sure some of you already know, as we think about the future of this industry, we kind of hear this pervasive question of how can we make crypto more user-centered? And there's some variation on this question, right? Like, how do we get to mass adoption? How do we use UX to do it? How do we improve the UX of crypto? And if there are any designers in this audience, welcome. I'm sure that maybe you feel similarly in some of the dismay that I feel that the practice of user experience hasn't necessarily been frequently or successfully deployed across this industry. And it seems like it's an afterthought that's tacked on at the end. I believe it's time we actually adopt a different angle entirely. I don't think it's about asking this question anymore, how to make crypto more user-centered. I think we need to acknowledge a much bigger truth, and that is crypto is already human-centered. It always has been. Which means if design isn't core to the product development as tech is, then I think you're anti-crypto. I think that the basic fact is that crypto ethos is inherently human-centered, and we can begin to map how crypto and design are incredibly related. The practice of wielding user experience strategically is quite close to crypto. And when we think about the future of crypto and the other side of this market, people are going to have a much stronger demand for desirable and friendly experiences. They're not going to have patience for any of the really poor experiences they have today. And all those products are going to be ignored or just avoided. So design and UX can be a major competitive advantage moving forward, and it's going to open doors and can open doors for a much larger and more diverse audience. So let me show you kind of my thought process on this, a little bit of what I'm getting, what I've been thinking about, so just a little more detail. And I've picked just 4 principles that I think make crypto particularly human-centered, and how design can support that. So first and foremost, crypto is global. It's arguably one of the most impactful global phenomenons of our age. So it's imperative that we actually design for accessibility. It means considering diversity from the beginning. It's geodiversity, neurodiversity, physical diversity, technodiversity. There was a talk just a couple before mine talking about folks in Ethiopia who have no access to electricity. I mean, that's crazy. How are they going to get access? We have to consider that. And empathy is really required here. Also, more diversity ultimately means more decentralization. That's a core principle. And, power shifts need critical mass. So, again, the more the merrier, if you will. Next, crypto prioritizes security. And we're talking about security to protect valuable assets that people own, whether it's financial or data, what have you. So we've got to, we've got to make sure that people have confidence and skills and the ability to both control their security and know the state of that security is very, very vital. So we've got to design for the usability of that security. What we know is that everybody makes mistakes, including experts. There's no one to exclude from a good sense of usability, of security. There's also a need for a sense of calm, which is one of the best emotional states you could possibly have if you're going to deal with an emergency, frankly. And we can achieve that by giving users plenty of confidence in their ability to manage security and be aware of errors. Error states that inform and guide are painfully missing in crypto products. And we know that preventative care is always the healthier alternative. So we got to think about the potential pitfalls that users are going to encounter rather than wait for them to have a really no good, very bad day. Next, crypto is trustworthy. I don't like the word trustless, so I won't use it again. But depending on your glass half full or empty kind of point of view, nevertheless, in order to build trust and design for something that is trustworthy, you first have to earn that trust. You have to design for credibility. One of the ways to build greater trust in this industry kind of veers from UX for just a minute, and because I'll touch on the fact that we need more great brands in the space. Brands have the ability to tell stories that really connect with people, and great stories, brands with great stories can scale beyond any Telegram or Discord group. Those are the early adopters who might get involved, but beyond that, we need stories that everyone can connect with. There's a great paper published by a designer named Toshi Mogi, and he works for the prominent design consultancy Frog. And he wrote a paper on the pillars of designing for trust and finance competency. Competency, reliability, empathy, and customer orientation are the pillars of trust. And what that means, what they mean are competency is about being an expert in what you do and sharing that knowledge. Reliability is about being consistent, maintaining a reputation of following through. Empathy, of course, is understanding your users' emotional states and valuing them as customers. and really meeting them where they are on their journey. And customer orientation means putting customers' needs first through compatible values and ethos. I think that crypto actually does a pretty good job at the last one to a degree, and it stops quite short of making the case relevant to the masses, but empathy score is quite low. All right, and last, certainly not least, crypto supports self-sovereignty. This one is really important because with self-sovereignty, we're making the biggest ask of people it's a major paradigm shift. So in that regard, I think it's a really, really major cognitive reach for some people. So designing for clarity is very crucial here. Bringing people along for this journey to more self-sovereignty, in order to do that, we need to not only teach good habits, we've got to introduce them, and that's got to be done in a thoughtful way. And I'd really love to see more focus and effort in our industry made towards thinking about the language and the terminology in our products so that they can act as methods of wayfinding for new users. There's a lot of jargon that kind of skips over and doesn't consider people who are brand new. So just to recap, the crypto values of being global, secure, trustworthy, self-sovereign mirror up really nicely with the practice of design and UX. This is what UX tries to accomplish for any product in any industry: to be accessible, to be usable, to be credible, to be clear. We can do this for crypto because it's necessary for crypto, and it's about people. Design's about people, crypto's about people. Every story you will hear today, 2 talks in before me, all I hear are stories about how people need access. So if we can shift our minds a little bit here, designing for people means designing for crypto. Let's stop trying to separate the two and ask design to fix crypto. Design should already be embedded in the way we approach building these products. So thank you.